Ha matakiapi, Donna Chrisjohn machapi ksto, Rosebud matan nale ha Inglewood awatiha, Iuha chanta washta nape chiuzapi. Hi everyone, my name is Donna Chrisjohn. I am Sijangu and Dina. What I said in Lakota language is I greet you with a warm heart. I know you are probably wondering what is Sijangu and Dina. I identify as my two tribal nations. And you might be more familiar with terms Indian, American Indian, Native American, Native, First Nations, Indigenous, and Aboriginal. The first three terms I will address are Indian, American Indian, and Native American. Indian came about by a man who was lost and ended up in what we know today as Havana. When he arrived, he called the Taino and the other indigenous people Indian because he thought he landed in the West Indies. Over time, after America was founded, we were called American Indians. This was to distinguish us from Indians who were born in India. Then, by act of Congress in 1984, they decided to rename us once again because they had to create another race category that would include actual Indians from India who are now born in the US. So they named us Native Americans, again, without our consent or without consulting us. So for 500 years, we have been called terms that we do not identify as. These terms have been forced upon us. You will see American Indians still in federal policies today. I say that these three terms are not derogatory. They are just incorrect. The next terms are Indigenous and Aboriginal. These are anthropological or scientific terms. You can find Indigenous or Aboriginal people in Australia or New Zealand or other countries. These are the original peoples of their homelands. When I say Indigenous, I am referring to the original peoples of the Americas, from the northern part of North America to the southern tip of Chile in South America. The next terms are First Nations and Native. I prefer to be called these terms or Indigenous as an umbrella term over all the tribal nations. Sioux and Navajo are the governmental terms for Sijangu and Dene. I do not identify as either of these governmental terms. My mother is Sijangu, and her mother is Sijangu, and her mother was Sijangu. I can go back 8 generations of Sijangu women. Sijangu means the burnt thigh people. This is where I come from. There is no honor in the other terms I mentioned, and it would be a dishonor to say I was anything other than Sijangu, because this is who my grandmother told me who I am. There is no pride in all of the other terms. Every Indigenous person identifies as they see fit. The best way I have heard to ask someone who is Indigenous is to ask them what their tribal nations are. I am Sijangu and Dene. The fall. Looking at the calendar, it's September. Fall is a difficult time as an Indigenous person. First, it starts with me watching football. I'm enjoying the game in my cozy fall sweater with my pumpkin spice coffee. When all of a sudden, I see the head of a Native person on a stake during the football game. You can hear the fans doing the tomahawk chop, and I can see them with their war paint on. As we move into October, imagine a little girl coming home with her scholastic news. She tells her mother that Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and she is quickly interrupted. Her mother doesn't allow the C word to be spoken in her home. I call it the other C word. It was Columbus. Don't say his name in this house, she said. Because he raped, he pillaged, he murdered. He decapitated babies and fed them to dogs. His name will never be said in this house. October 31st, the doorbell rings. I open the door and I see a Pocahontas. Pocahontas was a child, not this adult sexualized Disney character standing on my front porch. By this time, my trauma stemming from the mascot issue and the C word informs my reaction to this young woman who does not understand her misrepresentation and appropriation of our culture. I am hurt and I am angry. No sooner does America hang up their Pocahontas costumes than on November 1st, we are told Americans now honor us. It's Native American Heritage Month. I walk into work or my child's classroom and I am quickly greeted with Happy Thanksgiving. How do I respond? My mother taught me to be a good relative and to wake up each day thankful. How did we commodify a simple life lesson? We share a month with a holiday that has been based on a lie and used as propaganda for American patriotism. We are reminded that the first Thanksgiving was an act of genocide committed by the Pilgrims. The same Pilgrims printed on those coloring sheets that you bring home from school each year with your turkey made from your hand. As we take time off to reflect and spend time with family, I call my brother, who served this country for 25 years, and I ask him to come by. He says no. I have my pizza and my football. Happy Thanksgiving.